The world of gaming is super weird, and every month gameranx goes through the weird, sorts the weird, and gives you the weird. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 weirdest gaming stories of May 2024. Starting off at number 10, it took 28 years, but the door in the cabin at the bottom of the hill in Super Mario 64, in the snow level, that you race to the bottom with the penguin, that you can't open from the outside, has been opened from the outside. And when we say open the door, we mean legitimately open the door. We don't mean hacked the code, we mean found a way to open the door without altering anything that could be done on the original hardware if you wanted. Would I call this occasion momentous? I am not sure. It is quite the accomplishment. It took a lot of maneuvering because of the way the doors work. In order to glitch through the invisible wall that's keeping you from the door, you have to use this penguin trick. But the problem is that a door is not sensitive to a falling Mario. If Mario is in the fall state, the fall animation, the door will not open. And so the person who figured this out had to come up with this precision way to get Mario into a walk animation for a frame at the exact right time so it could touch the zone that would open the door. And it's insane. And it's mundane. I mean, it's the opening of a door that wasn't supposed to be opened. That doesn't sound super duper, let's say. But honestly, it's pretty cool. It's one of the few things that hadn't really been done in Mario that was an obvious thing that you maybe could do based on what people knew about the doors. It's one of those accomplishments that, for weird people, is awesome. And, as you might be able to guess, the second I was recommended this video, which by the way, I'm pretty sure was in the first couple of days, I watched it and I was like, yeah, cool. So I am one of those weird people. At number 9, Marvel Rivals is an upcoming free-to-play multiplayer shooter. It is being developed by NetEase in China, overseen by Marvel themselves. Marvel Rivals had a closed alpha test, was invite only, and we're not talking about the game at all. We're talking about something that they did involving this closed alpha. So I can understand why the Marvel social media people would not want disparaging comments made about the game based on the alpha. I understand that, but to include it in the contract in order to play the alpha is a big overstep. This is the type of move that makes it very clear that these companies don't want games journalists to do journalism. Now, I'm not calling myself a games journalist. I'm talking about weird crap that's silly. I'm so far removed from the events that caused this, it's not even funny. But I can tell you this right now. Nobody liked that. I don't like it. I don't think anybody who's hearing this for the first time likes it, and nobody who heard it when it happened liked it. They had to apologize immediately. They had to retract that element of the contract, and they had to say, we actively encourage creators to share their honest thoughts, suggestions, and criticisms as they play. Do you know why? Because once you do that, once you say you're not allowed to say something is wrong with this game, nothing said can be trusted. Not a word. Doesn't matter if you're a gaming influencer or an actual games journalist. If you signed a contract that said you will not say anything negative about this game in order to play it, it doesn't matter how much you like the game. If you really, really like the game, it doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter anymore. That contract screws up the entire relationship between us, the gamers, and people who are supposed to get inside as close as they can and give us information that we're not being given. Like I said, I'm just a game bird. I'm just talking about stuff that I see, but nobody liked this. It was a big backlash. I wish I could say that, like, the contract itself was super weird, but unfortunately, I think the apology is probably the weird part. Very rarely do these types of things actually get noticed or apologized for, to my knowledge anyway. At number 8, a guy by the name of Super Lewis 64, who's clearly a fan of Elden Ring, has a large greatsword. Big ol' insane sword. That's not the weird part. It looks a little weird, him standing there holding it, but that's not the weird part. He actually converted it into an Xbox controller so he can swing it and have the game swing the sword. Basically, it's a big heavy toy that he turned into a big heavy game controller. He says the reason that he did it is because he was thinking about what it would be like if Elden Ring came out in 2005 when they were putting out goofy controllers with a bunch of different games, like some of them good, some of them bad. You got gloves, you got guitars, you got, well, swords and guns and stuff. I mean, he's pretty on point in terms of if they decided to release it that way. But he did it. He made a big old heavy greatsword, which, by the way, you can think to yourself, it's probably not that heavy. It's made of, foam, stuff that you would make this kind of thing out of. But I think you underestimate what swinging anything large with any bit of weight is actually like, especially when it's as a video game controller, because you're swinging it a lot in order to swing the sword in a video game. And also, it's not like one-to-one like Skyward Sword. It's a controller. So there's an element of jank. Not necessarily that there isn't a level of jank in the Skyward Sword configuration, but Skyward Sword used tracking technology to kind of in an analog way replicate your actions. Here we're talking about digital jank entirely. It's swing or not swing, and it looks cumbersome and difficult to use. At number 7, Tesla Motors decided to retract the ability to play Steam games on your Tesla car, which makes sense. Honestly, I don't know why that was a feature that they decided to launch at all. I mean, that in and of itself is quite weird. But 2 years after they announced it, they're like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe letting people play video games using the one screen in their car, maybe that's not a great idea. And believe me, I'm not one of these people who takes a dump on Tesla. I think Teslas are very cool cars. But I have never, ever understood why you would be able to play a video game on the screen on your car that literally all of the information that you would get about your car is on. Miles per hour, it goes on that screen. Gear indicator, it goes on that screen. I don't think you were supposed to be playing it while driving, but I think you and I both know that there are people playing video games while they're driving because the car allegedly drives itself. A lot of people were just like, I'm going to set it to do that and I'm going to play a video game. There's no chance that there wasn't any of that. I mean, I've seen footage of people doing stuff that is far more involved than video games while their car drives them around. We're talking cooking, we're talking sleeping, we're talking the nasty. But I don't think you can stop people from doing that stuff. You can stop them from playing video games on their car by making it so that you can't play video games on your car. Moving on to number 6. Microsoft really sliced the ever-loving crap out of Arcane Austin. Knocked them back hard. That's been the one that's gotten the most attention because Arcane is such a great studio. But they've also actually knocked back a bunch of other ZeniMax studios. Tango Gameworks, the other high-profile one. That was weird enough as it is. But when you start thinking about it, how Redfall, cost money. There were people that spent $100 for Redfall. I don't know why there were, but there were. Well, those people got ripped off because there were promises made about the support of the game that was not kept. And not only did they close the studio making those updates, they also kept going and offered a bunch of individuals, quality assurance testers, producers, other various staff, voluntary severance agreements, which is basically like saying, you know what, you're redundant. We don't want you working for us. We'll give you some money so that it's not horrible that you don't have a job here anymore. Otherwise, you don't have to leave. Like legally, we can't make you leave, but you're not going to be here. Take the offer. I mean, I just want to sit here and say for a second, a voluntary severance agreement, it's such an obviously coercive mechanism by which to fire people, because as much as it's popular to say you can't fire me, I quit, you should never quit, because if you need to get unemployment, it's going to be so much harder to do. Granted, a voluntary severance agreement might make it so that you don't have to get unemployment. I don't know. It might not. We don't know. We have no idea what the details of those agreements are, in this case at least. I don't know. It's just a weird situation. I really don't understand closing Tango and Arcane Austin. I'm glad that Arcane Lyon is still there. That makes me happy because that's kind of the original Arcane. But there was a reason that they expanded to Arcane Austin. It was so that they could make more of their immersive sims at a time. And they hired a bunch of people who were really good at it because Prey was a primarily Arcane Austin project, and that is a great game. I don't know. It sucks. The whole thing sucks. Moving on to number 5, EA is looking at putting in-game ads into AAA games. I think the AAA games industry is just basically done. if I'm completely honest, like, if there's like 5 studios that are capable of making AAA level games with the types of budgets they make them, that are able to make money from doing it, at least enough money, like Rockstar is clearly able to do it, Epic Games clearly able to do it. I'm not gonna bother like listing off studios that know how to make money making AAA level games, but they're not a lot of them. EA, clearly not one, because they're selling games and they're saying, hey, we got to put ads in those too. So it's like, you know, those streaming services that used to, you know, you paid for them and you thought, well, I'm not going to get ads because I'm paying for it. And then you got ads, Hulu, Disney Plus, I'm talking to you. Yeah, it's happening with AAA games now. Games that you're going to spend like $60 to $80 on. Yeah, those games. I hate when I have to continually say like, I wish I could say this was particularly weird, but it seems like it's where things have been going. That's what's weird here, okay? Moving on to number 4, somebody made a full-on Kratos mod for Elden Ring, and this is not like a simple model swap. No. This mod brings along with it a custom moveset, custom icons, custom weapon skills, custom descriptions, and other custom things. And we are talking about original God of War trilogy Kratos here. So we're talking Blades of Chaos, but we've also got the ability to pull off both two-handed and one-handed moves with the Blades of Chaos. I looked into it, and somebody asked the mod creator if they can just use the Kratos model without using the moveset and abilities. He answered yes. The Kratos model's chest armor and the moves and abilities are tied to the Blades of Chaos. So, I mean, you got a lot of options here. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of like using young Kratos in a slightly more recent God of War-like control scheme. I'm not going to say it's the same thing, because Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok are pretty different animals, but I would say it's closer to that than it is to old school God of War. I mean, it's a pretty cool mod. I think what's weird about it, though, is that it looks natural, honestly. It looks like the game was designed to be played as Kratos. So that's a good mod right there. And number 3, a jury, not a judge or other intermediary, an actual jury trial, decided that a cheating software violated Bungie's copyright. Now, some people might exaggerate this one and say it makes cheating in a video game illegal, but if that were the case, a number of other previous court cases would have done the same. It's not the cheating, it's the fact that there is actual copyrighted material being used and propagated for profit by sites like AimJunkies, which is owned by Phoenix Digital, who was the defendant in this particular lawsuit. This one wasn't the kind of money that had to be forked over in previous lawsuits, even ones involving AimJunkies, which previously totaled millions of dollars. This one only landed $63,210 worth of damages, but it puts a jury on record, which is unprecedented on this one. At number 2, Thomas Mahler of Moon Studio, their CEO, the head of the studio, tweeted something that I just love hearing, because this is exactly what we said in response to Microsoft closing all of those studios. You go back to the video we did about that. To everyone who has been pestering me for years why we didn't allow Moon Studios to get acquired by a big publisher, that's why. I lived through the 90s and saw what happened when smaller studios got acquired by EA. Never again. Amen, Mr. Mahler. Well said, well done. And for everybody else who gets a deal from the devil, did you know that monopolies are illegal? That's why Microsoft buying all these companies keeps causing court cases. But unfortunately, laws are meant to serve people in power, not hinder them, and, well, selective enforcement. We live in the age of monopolies, and to be frank, if you can have a successful game studio that turns a profit without being bought by somebody else, don't let them buy you. Everybody you make games for will appreciate it. Believe me. And finally, at number 1, I love this one, not because it happened, but because it's very funny. A priest, allegedly, important to say the word allegedly here, because this is, I think a crime, some kind of fraud, misappropriation of funds, at very least. A priest allegedly spent $40,000 using the church's credit card on, wait for it, Candy Crush. Not just Candy Crush, he was also playing Mario Kart Tour. That's where that $40,000 went. But apparently he also spent other money on buying gifts for his goddaughter on Amazon. So he couldn't help himself. Had to even out the selfishness of spending tons of money in games for himself with some giving. I don't know, Reverend Lawrence Kozak. I can't tell whether this is something to be mad at or something to be highly amused at. I have to imagine the church accountant was like, what the hell? I can understand him being mad, and I can maybe even understand some of the people in the congregation being mad because, I mean, ultimately, church money comes from donations. They pass the basket, right? That's their money. But at the same time, it's so silly. He spent $40,000 on Candy Crush and Mario Kart. I don't know. I think outside of a fairly small immediate blast radius, the fall off for being angry and becoming amused, I imagine it happens on a fairly quick, fairly steep slope on that graph. But apparently, our man isn't just stealing because he used his personal bank to pay off $10,000 of the church's credit card. It makes it sound like he's kind of using the church as a credit card, which is still bad, but clearly he intended to pay it off eventually. I'm sorry, that's just funny. I'm not saying he should have done it, but I am saying it's pretty funny. I think that's all I've got for you today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a good time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.